Hey everybody, welcome to another Marvel Legendary gameplay video. Today I'm going to be going over the first two battles in my playthrough of the Starlord Marvel Legendary Adventure. This is a game mode where you select one of the heroes in Marvel Legendary and go through a custom-made hero path created by one of the many talented members on the Bageltop Discord. Links for all this are in the description. Shout out to Bageltop Games for organizing and creating this incredibly fun way to play the game, and another shout out to Remington Chase, who was the designer of Starlord's hero path. When asked about his inspiration when creating the Starlord hero path, he had this to say: I wanted a general narrative generally inspired by the actual lore. For the individual fights, however, it was largely about creating setups to fit the music. I looked up the soundtracks for the movie, and some songs stuck out to me as being very applicable to existing schemes, masterminds, etc. The final fight is especially unique. It's basically an amalgamation of all things cosmic. I'm really excited to get this game going. Let's get set up real quick. As we load up the Starlord hero path, we have our list of required sets needed to play, which will change depending on the number of players. I'll be playing two-handed solo as always, and enacting the final blow rule. If we do win in all 5 battles, we will unlock not just Starlord, but the MCU version of Starlord as well, meaning we can bring these heroes in on future battles for different heroes. With that out of the way, let's move on to battle number 1, Escape the Pina Colada song. All of these missions are based on the music from the soundtrack. Remington even includes a link to the song. The Beyonder has trapped Starlord with some of the most dangerous villains in the entire galaxy. To reunite with his friends, he must first join forces with his enemies and escape. We're going to be facing the Beyonder, who puts some pressure on us to recruit heroes that cost 5 or more. We're going to be using these 5-cost heroes to reduce his HP through his Cosmic Threat ability and to prevent from gaining wounds from his Master Strikes. We'll be taking on the Inescapable Kylm Space Prison. This scheme is a timer that will force us to spend our resources when twists are drawn, which can slow us down by quite a bit. It also adds in the twist that all the heroes in the HQ will be placed upside down, and we will have to use one attack to flip the cards face up, which will allow us to recruit it. This scheme will be very taxing on our resources, and in conjunction with the Beyonder, it could lead to quite a difficult game. From the 3 villain groups we will be facing, we have From Beyond, the Celestials, and the Ravagers. Most of these villains won't be changing how we play the game in a significant way. In fact, most of them can give us a benefit if we can take them down through celestial boons from the Celestials or villainous weapons from the Ravagers. Moving down to the heroes, let's first take a look at Starlord, as he will be a consistent player in the battles to come. Overall, he's a very powerful hero, having a common card that grants you a shard every single turn, which can build up to some incredible turns in the future. These can also serve a dual purpose, as we can still reveal artifacts we have on the field to reduce the HP of the Celestials and the Mastermind. So Starlord's uncommon card that costs 6 will be extremely valuable. On top of some fantastic artwork, I think he's going to pull his weight in every single battle from here on out. Some of the other cards we're on the lookout to recruit together are Ruthless Cyborg, Galactic Rogue, and Universal Weapon. Being able to hand out shards to these villains, take them back, KO cards, and draw cards is everything you want to be doing in a game of Legendary. Getting these cards synced up will lead to very flexible turns and could end up snowballing us in order to take out the Beyonder. Another set of hero cards I'm looking out for is Proxima Midnight's whole hero set. We will need to spend attack to flip over the cards in the HQ and get past the pocket dimensions from the Beyonder. Proxima gives us some great stats for their cost, they chain really well together, and by giving us attack and recruit on individual cards means we should be able to get through the restrictions that will be placed on us through the scheme and Mastermind. Moving into gameplay, apologies for the glare, I had to record in a different location than what I usually do, but we have ourselves a plethora of options for our opening HQ. Just look at that. I mean, it's just incredible. Important to note that when new cards are placed in the HQ, they will also be placed upside down, which is something I never forgot. Not once. Moving into our player's game plan, for the first 5 turns, Miles recruits 2 element guns, Ruthless Cyborg, Galactic Rogue, and a sidekick in Rock Slide. A high HQ at this point has slowed him down as most of his cards aren't increasing his recruit output, but having 2 element guns is setting him up for the late game. For Harrison, he recruited Rally Kree Warriors, Element Guns, Universal Weapon, Inspiration through Power, Let None Escape, and a Darwin Sidekick. Miles is definitely a little more focused on his game plan at the moment, but Harrison is keeping himself open to whatever the HQ dictates. Picking up an Element Gun here is great, as it is a universal card that can fit into any deck, and combined with a Universal Weapon can lead to better turns by burning the shards to draw 2 cards. In terms of the villains, we are in a bit of a rough shape, with the city full of larger villains and a couple wounds on our hands from drawing an early Master Strike and Scheme, which Harrison ends up picking up an implanted memory chip, meaning that once he gets the artifact played, the Beyonder will always have -3 HP during his turn. Miles does get his second element guns, gaining 2 shards a turn is hopefully going to speed the game up. This Nizar the Calculator was a real thorn in my side. Fighting it gains us a Celestial Boon, a permanent status that would increase the HP of the Mastermind. Yeah, it would increase... Wait, is that a... Well, poop. That is a minus sign. Reading the card explains the card, people. We do hit a bit of a brick at this point, as the HQ remains to be really highly costed with uncommons and rares, combined with no consistent ways to KO my cards. We eventually do come across a good stash of Proxima Midnight cards, which Harrison begins to snatch up real quick. Miles strikes it big when he picks up Legendary Outlaw and Starlord's rare card, Sentient Starship. Getting this rare on the board means we could be getting 5 shards a turn, which is just an unbelievable amount of attack that we can stash away and use against the Mastermind when we're ready. We also start getting some of the Doombot Legion from the villain deck, which gives us at least a little bit of KO power, which we desperately need. The end goal, it keeps getting further and further away as both Nezars escape due to my misreading the card and pile a huge amount of shards on the Beyonder. Luckily, my pile of shards is rather large as well, which we convert to 5-count purple blocks at this point. This does eventually give us enough incremental value, and Miles ends up taking the first blood through the plethora of shards and the Proxima Midnight card that he snatched away from Harrison. Then it's simply rinse and repeat from there. Miles never really got a hold of a strong synergistic deck, but simply shot to recruit as many 5-costing heroes as he could and get big numbers. He does hit the Beyonder twice, so he wasn't left in the dust. Overall, a great showing from Miles and a great example of why Starlord is such a powerful hero. Moving into game number 2, entitled Mr. Blue Sky. Starlord escapes just in time for the Silver Surfer to warn him and the other Guardians that the Galactus is coming to try and destroy the Earth itself. Can the Guardians and the Silver Surfer stop Galactus before he crushes, suffocates, and destroys all life on the planet? For the Mastermind, we are facing off against Galactus, whose Master Strike is an alternate lose condition, destroying city spaces, causing villains to escape. Can be extremely challenging, especially with such a high HP. Luckily, we can get that reduced down through the Cosmic Threat mechanic. Looking at the schemes, we're taking on Steal All Oxygen on Earth. This card will be KOing our heroes out of the HQ, and when 20 non-gray heroes are KO'd, we're going to lose. This coincides very well with Galactus, as he will be shortening the length of the city, causing more villains to escape, making us KO heroes from the HQ on that front as well. For the villains, we are taking on the Heralds of Galactus, Kree Starforce, and the Sentinels will be our Henchmen. Happy to get that KO ability from the Henchman group, but the Kree Starforce can be difficult, handing out shards to our enemies and wounds to our players. Moving to the heroes, we are switching over to the MCU version of Starlord, who comes with a unique setup of cards, having 3 commons at 3 copies apiece, 2 commons at 2 copies apiece, and 1 rare. While this has a lot of variety, the hero can definitely become inconsistent, as you can't get the cards you need on a regular basis. He takes a dedicated artifact deck to really soar, but we are given plenty of support with that, with Knives of the Hunter, Gravity Mines, and Retractable Sword. This also gives us a great plan against Galactus, as we have multiple artifacts that have the tech class. Once we get those cards out, we will be able to reliably shrink Galactus' HP down every single turn. We could also create a Oops All Recruit deck using Silver Surfer at its base, weaponizing his recruit with the Power Cosmic. We could also use all of that recruit to keep the HQ nice and fresh and digging for all the artifact cards that the other player will be in need of. Game 1 of this did not go well. I couldn't find my footing with either deck, leading to some pretty aimless playing. Combine that with a really tough stacked villain deck, dishing out Master Strikes and schemes like candy, I was pretty quickly taken down. For round 2, though, we regrouped and we are ready to go. Miles started us out and in his first 5 turns recruited a Passion Compassion, Expandable Helmet, Hairball, Knives of the Hunter, a Sidekick, and Retractable Sword. Starting out with 3 artifacts is great. Helmet and Sword synergize really well together and can lead to turns where I end up snowballing by fighting villains, triggering excessive violence to draw a card, and keep the chain going. For Harrison, he ends up with an Epic Destiny, Resourceful Fugitive, Interstellar Tracker, Baby Groot, and Miss Lion. Wasn't looking too impressive, but we were able to rescue a bystander and shatter Silver Surfer's rare card and pick it up nice and early. While we don't have a way to weaponize it yet, we should be able to recruit left and right from here on out. The city does get shortened by one of the Master Strikes from Galactus, and a Ronan the Accuser shows up. I assumed the way to play this card was that each player simply gains a wound, so that's what I went with. Off to a good start recruit-wise, but the city is getting a bit precarious. Harrison luckily picks up not 1, but eventually 2 Power Cosmics. This will allow him to focus all of that recruit and convert it into damage to take out Galactus. Miles' artifact engine begins to grow. 2 copies of Starship Sensors, Gravity Mines, Expandable Helmet, Retractable Sword, and Knives of the Hunter are currently out, meaning that Galactus' HP is going to be reduced by 12 on Miles' turn, as long as those cards stay in play. Combine this with Passion, he can fight villains or the Mastermind, trigger excessive violence, draw in a card, and gets reimbursed with Retractable Sword. We then can start using Give to discard artifacts on the field in order to replay them later to trigger all the Starlord effects. On this turn, not only do we get to hit Galactus for the first time, but we also recruit Starlord's rare card, Hadron Enforcer, giving us 3 attack for the first artifact played each turn, giving him a huge leg up in taking out Galactus. Harrison hasn't been able to convert his recruit into damage in order to take out Galactus, but he has been able to easily wipe the city on a consistent basis. In the end, Miles easily takes out Galactus with his plethora of artifact triggers and using tech heroes through the Cosmic Threat ability. Absolutely solid gameplay. Once I got a grip on the archetype that each deck needed to be, it flowed very well. For battle number 1, we had a total of 106 victory points, and for battle number 2, we scored a little bit lower, but a solid 62. We are down to 2 lives, and we have 3 more battles to go. But I got confidence as Starlord is a very powerful hero and we'll be happy to add him to our roster. Don't forget, we did complete Domino's hero path, meaning we can bring her in for one of these missions if we feel it is needed. Thank you so much for joining me. Hope you guys enjoyed this new format of showing you my progress through the adventure series. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Keep your heads up and have a good night.